Hey, best agents, happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday already. What do they call it? Hump Day Wednesday. Today we are with the best rate home loans lenders, George and Ricky. They're going to review FHA renovation loans. So this is a great topic to know. It's a great topic, tool to have in your tool belt. And hop on to also ask any other agent related questions. But this will be featured live on Facebook, as you can see. And then two, it will also be recorded so you can watch this later. So anyone who's working or wants to kind of rewind later down the road, you definitely can. So our presenters today is George and Ricky, and that's all you guys. Go ahead and get started. And thank you so much for hosting today's workshop.
Thank you for that. We're still working on our technical difficulties here, so just a moment. All right. I don't think I'm echoing anymore, so we'll go ahead and get this kicked off. But yeah, hey, thanks for joining. We are going to talk about something that we don't see a whole lot that's being utilized right now. And with how things are, we want to add as many tools to our tool belt as possible, to the way we can find additional wins out there when they can be hard to come by. So today we're going to go over an FHA renovation loan. What are the benefits of utilizing a renovation loan? What's the process look like? What type of renovations we can do? And kind of the financing part of it for our clients. So to get started into here, so what is a renovation loan? So kind of to the title of it, what we're doing in this situation is, if there's a home in distress that our borrower is willing to put in the time to have these renovations or rehabs be done to the home, we can utilize this renovation loan to fund that renovation project for the borrower without them having to come out of pocket. Nice thing about, what's the grab and what everyone likes about FHA loans is that there's a low down payment requirement. So the down payment requirement for the renovation loan is 3.5% down. Quick thing on that, the 3.5% is going to be based off of the total amount for the loan. So I'll get into that a little bit further. But it's basically, when we're looking at purchasing a home, it's going to be the purchase amount plus the funds to do those renovations. So that total amount, purchase price plus renovations, that's what's going to be the borrower's 3.5% from. Allows the borrower to finance those costs into the loan for them, so they don't have to come out of pocket for these renovations that they want to do. The renovation loan, we can actually do it on a refinance as well as a purchase. So if someone is in a home already and they're wanting to do renovations to the home but don't have the funds to do so, we actually can do a refinance loan and as part of the renovation. We can even, nice thing about this is we can even use this type of renovation loan to pass an FHA appraisal. So let's say we had a borrower that was going to be using an FHA loan already. We had the appraisal done. Appraisal comes back saying, hey, we need these repairs done. Reached out to the sellers. They're not willing to budge and they want to sell it as is. We can flip that FHA loan that we had for the borrower already to a renovation loan and then have refinanced or financed those repairs into the renovation loan to pass that FHA appraisal for the borrower. The key thing on that, though, is that we would just need to make sure that the borrower can qualify for the new loan amount, not just the purchase price. So purchase price plus those renovations. That's renovation loan. Eligible renovation and repairs. So main thing to keep in mind with this is that this is an FHA loan. So the main things that we're going to be able to do for these types of renovations are to make the home livable and comfortable for the client. So popular things that can be done, we can repair or replace essential heat or air. We can redo plumbing, electrical systems. We can redo flooring, bathroom remodel, structural alterations, foundation repairs, roof repairs. We can add an additional bedroom to the home. So if the home's a 3-bedroom and we want to add a 4th bedroom into there, we can use this renovation loan to add a bedroom. We can add a bathroom. We can add a master bedroom with bathroom, kitchen remodel, a home office remodel, modernize the home. Let's say the kitchen's outdated. We can use this to modernize. We can replace appliances. We can give them all new appliances with this. We can even replace, repair, or add exterior decks, patios, or porches. Since talking about eligible renovations, we'll also talk about ineligible renovations. So what we can't do to the home is we can't strip it down all the way to the foundation to start over. It's not the purpose of a renovation loan. We can't physically relocate the home to another area. Self-help is not permitted. So one thing with the renovation loan is that we can't just give the funds to the borrower to start doing the repairs themselves. They actually need to have a general contractor to oversee the work, and then they can sub out to subcontractors to do the work. Everything needs to be invoiced, so that we have a paper trail and everything gets done correctly. Additional dwelling or accessory dwelling units aren't allowed, so we can't add another unit to the home that's not attached to the home. So one thing that we could do is we had a 1-unit home. We can actually make it a 2-unit home and have the client start getting rental income after the renovations, but we can't have it be detached from the home. Anything to do with oil tanks can't be done with the renovation loan. And then luxury improvements. So circling back, this is an FHA loan. Main thing is to make the home habitable and comfortable for the client. Unfortunately, we can't do luxury improvements. So can't add in that the pool, can't do like a expansive, fancy backyard, can't do tennis courts, no basketball courts, nothing of that nature for the ineligible repairs. Ineligible ownership type. So this is an FHA loan, so this is pretty straightforward, but just to recap, this has to be unit owner occupied and the loan in the borrower's name. So can't do any life estates, blind trust, 1031 exchanges we can't do on these, can't close in a LLC or corporations partnerships. So can't do any of the investment type of closings for this. This is really for a borrower that's looking to live in the home after those renovations. Can't do any type of flipping with these, or have an investor that wants to use these funds to renovate the home and then rent it out afterwards. This is for owner occupied property types. Okay, so to break this down and get into the weeds a little bit, with the renovation loan, with the FHA one, there's technically 2 different versions of this. One's called the standard and one's called the limited. The main difference is the amount of renovations that the borrower is looking to do. For the limited one, those are going to be for renovations less than 35,000 in total renovations. So that would be purchase price plus 35,000 in renovations would be the max on this. Nice thing with that is that it's there's no minimum amount. So if we only needed 5,000 or 3,000 for renovations, we can do the limited. Limited has a max completion time of 90 days. So 90 days from once the loan closes, the renovations need to be completed. For the limited one general contractor is required. So we need to have at least one general contractor. Nice thing is with this, and I'll get into the standard one, is there's a consultant that also needs to be throughout the process with this with HUD. With the limited one, since it's not as many renovations, we don't need another consultant on board with this. So helps with processing, get done a little bit faster. There's a 10% contingency reserve required on these. So when us on the lending side, when we're looking at what's the total amount of renovations that we can do, once we look at the max amount that they're approved for, we just have to account for 10% to be towards this reserve contingency. This is just in case there's any types of changes that need to be done. When we're doing renovations, you know, it's not as cut and dry as a construction loan when we're starting from ground zero. When we're doing renovations on these older homes, you know, things can come up and then things need to be added or additional work needs to be done. So that's why there's at least a 10% contingency that we need to account for. And then with the limited one, so the main thing with these renovation loans is that these renovations need to add value to the home. So nice thing with the limited one is that since it's smaller renovations, we're not going to see as big of appraisal increases. So we can actually go up to 110% of the value of the home that the borrower can borrow against. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility with the limited one. The standard version of the renovation is going to be the one that is done the most. This is where we can do structural renovations to the home. So those that want to do like adding a bedroom, adding an additional unit to the home, that's going to fall under standard, of course. Minimum rehab cost on that is $5,000 that we can do on standard. Max amount is based on the completed value of the home. So we're going to take a look at what renovations we're doing on the home and how much value that adds. And that's going to be the max amount that we can provide to the borrower. With the standard one, since these are bigger renovations, we have more time with these. We can go up to 180 days after closing. Since these are also bigger renovations, we need to have a HUD consultant that's required. So these are consultants that are registered through HUD that need to be part of this. What the purpose of the HUD consultant is to be the eyes and ears for the lender and the borrower during the renovation. So they're going to make sure that, you know, the invoicing that the general contractor does is within reason. The contractor's not overestimating or trying to get more than what the actual renovations are worth. So they also need to be part of the process. I looked up to see, you know, how much availability there is with HUD consultants in Arizona. And I found that there's actually only about 9 to 10 consultants that are here in Arizona. So just something that we all just need to keep in mind that, you know, if we have a borrower that is interested in doing this type of renovation loan, that we get in front and try and get this HUD consultant on board so that way we can know what their scheduling is like. That way it's just a smoother process for the borrower. I get max one general contractor on these. So what the lender doesn't want to have is multiple points of contact for the contractor side of things. They want one general contractor that's going to be their one point of contact, and then that general contractor can sub out for additional work to be done. But this general contractor needs to be the point of contact. They also need to be a business that has funds available already. They need to be able to put their own money up front to be able to get work done and then ask for reimbursement afterwards. So just another thing that we just keep in mind when we have a borrower that's interested in when they're looking for general contractors. We can't use a general contractor that's up and coming and doesn't have the funds to actually complete the work themselves. We need someone that's well established, has funds available, has credit lines to be able to do the renovations and then invoice the lender afterwards. With the standard, there's actually also a possibility to where if the home is not livable for the borrower, they can defer their mortgage payments while the renovations are going on and live in a hotel. So instead of making their mortgage payment of however much, they can use those funds to go and live in a hotel or live somewhere else. If we go that route, the HUD consultant is the one that makes the decision on if the home's livable or not. So it's not up to the borrower just to be like, oh, I don't want to live there while things are going on. It's up to the HUD consultant to confirm if the home's livable for the borrower while the renovations are going on. And then the HUD consultant's the one that decides how many months that the borrower can live elsewhere. So typically I've heard that it's 1 to 2 months, but it can go up to the 6 months that the borrower can be out of the home. And those, the borrower's not skipping payments. Those payments that they would make are being deferred. So they actually go into the loan amount that we qualify them for. So if they're looking to, if they needed to defer 6 payments, that's quite a bit that we would need to defer into the loan, which then eats into how many renovations that we can do. So it's not just like they don't have to make a monthly payment and goes away. They're just deferring it and putting it into their loan. And the same thing with these, there's at least a 10% contingency that's required. This is also to the discretion of the consultant and the underwriter. It can go anywhere from 10 to 20%. Another thing that I see common is if it's an older home, like really old, then they'll ask for more of a contingency because there's a higher likelihood that things are going to come up during renovations, that additional things need to be done. Another thing, if the utilities need to go out, they need to cut them, then the contingency goes up to, I think they said 15%. So that contingency we'll start with 10%, but then there is a likelihood that it goes up just depending on what type of renovations are being done on the home.
One thing I want to add on that is at the time of appraisal, the utilities need to be turned on. So if they're not turned on, then we have to have that communication to have them on when the appraisal is done. And Susan, looks like you had a question on investors. So the FHA 203K is geared towards owner occupied. So they have to live in the house. FHA doesn't allow to purchase investments. But the good news is we can do a renovation loan on conventional using the home style renovation. And investors can utilize that up to 2 units. The down payment requirement's a lot higher, and that's its own separate thing. So we can take that one offline, or we can set up a class just to go through the conventional one. This one is just geared towards FHA, just because there's a ton of different nuances between the two, and this is geared for owner occupied.
All right, so this got into the weeds a little bit more, but what we want to go over is what the process flow for this looks like for everyone involved. So first, we need to get the client pre-approved. We need to know what's the max loan amount that they can be approved for. The other thing, keep in mind, since this is an FHA loan, that we need to go by the county loan limits. So there's no loan amounts that we can go above $441,000. But first, we're going to see what's the max that the borrower can be approved for. That gives us an idea, because then we can start having those conversations with the borrower as what type of renovations that they're looking to do. What's the main thing that they're looking for? Are they really set on having a new kitchen? Do they want to add an additional bedroom to the home? Do they need to have it to be 4 or 5 bedrooms? They want so many bathrooms. So that way we can kind of start seeing, how much what purchase price we can look at to make sure that there's enough available for the renovations that they want. So we'll get them qualified. We'll start having those conversations with them. We have a calculator that we can use to help with seeing how much renovations that they can do. But after that, the borrower will need to contact and identify which general contractor they want to use, and get the HUD consultant on board too. So Again, there's not as many HUD consultants that are here in Arizona, so we want to get in front of that early, so that way we're not scrambling to try and figure out, which HUD consultant can get to the site and start doing their portion of things. So after we get the general contractor, well, actually, one thing about the general contractor is the main thing with identifying that is they want us as the lender, as the broker and the realtor to not put too much focus on helping them choose who their general contractor is. If either one of us is going to do that, we need to make sure we give the borrower options, just to relieve some liability on us, because what the lender doesn't want to happen is, let's say either one of us recommended a general contractor to the borrower, and then loan closes, they get to start working on renovations, and then the contractor just ups and leaves and walks away, or the borrower doesn't like what the general contractor's work is, how it's going, any of those types of things. If it comes back saying, hey, my broker or my realtor told me to use this general contractor and I don't like how things are going, that then causes a sticky situation. So we try to, just a word of caution, try not to advise on who the general contractor should be. If anything, we can give a couple options, but ultimately the borrower needs to be the one to decide who that general contractor is going to be. So after they identify those two people, then the client needs to identify the property that they're interested in. From there, we're going to have the general contractor and the consultant do their walkthrough of the home and create the bid. So that way we now know what the client is wanting to do is going to look like it's going to fit in their budget. We'll then get the offer accepted on that home. And then we're going to provide the bids from the general contractor and the consultant to the appraiser to then give us a as completed value for the home. So this is the key part, because the renovation that the borrower is looking to do needs to add value to the home, to where that value is really going to be what gives us our budget. If the client's doing only renovations that aren't giving value to the home, then that as is completed value is going to come in short, and it's going to cut the client's budget. So one thing I was seeing is that if the client wanted to do solar panels on the home, we just got to make sure that there's some other things going on. We just want to make sure that the solar panels add enough value to that cost of the solar panels. So once we get that as completed appraisal value, then we can finalize what the loan amount is going to be, because on that as completed value, now we know what the 3.5% for the borrower is going to be, and we can now finalize the budget for the projects. So nice thing with this is that once we get to this point, now the loan can be closed. So now there's no, waiting for renovations to be done or waiting for commission checks to go out after renovations. The loan closes as soon as that, as like a normal contract goes. Once we get the appraisal, we clear underwriting conditions. Now the loan can close, commission checks go out, and now renovations can begin. The process for the renovations is the contractor needs to be able to fund the repairs themselves, and then they can submit invoices to then get reimbursed. For these, they can get up to 5 draws in process or during renovations. But this is why it's important that they find a contractor that has the funds to be able to, pay the subcontractors, get materials, because once they submit an invoice, that goes to the HUD consultant and the borrower to basically sign off and confirm that the repairs were done, and that the lender can disperse that draw to the general contractor for reimbursement. And then once all renovations are completed by the general contractor, then we can do final inspection with the HUD consultant and appraiser to confirm, renovations were done.
So just to reiterate, Once the loan closes, our job is done, and our renovation team will take over and see the renovations through. So you guys will get paid at the time of closing. So you won't have to wait 6 months out until the renovations are complete.
Yes, that's a huge plus. Other thing that, cool thing that we can do with these renovation loans is that we can actually combine them with other FHA products. So we can actually potentially go with the renovation plus down payment assistance. So a borrower can actually do this type of renovation if they qualify with down payment assistance to cover that full 3.5%. So now the client's just looking at closing costs, and in this market we're in, if we can get seller concessions, a borrower is looking pretty good with only bringing in minimal out of pocket, and we can do these renovations for them. The other two things here, FHA $100 down is also a possibility. This is buying a property from HUD directly. So this is a home that has an FHA loan on it that's going into foreclosure. Another FHA borrower can buy that home for only $100 down. And then if the home's in need of repairs, which there's a high percentage, these homes that do go into foreclosure do need some type of renovations. We can then combine these two together. Client only brings $100, that's the down payment. And we can also look at doing renovations for them. The Good Neighbor Next Door, same thing. These are homes that are being sold by HUD directly. And these are for law enforcement, teachers, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, where HUD will actually sell them to these individuals at half the sales price. I took a look, right now we're still in that time period where there's not as many foreclosures going on. So I took a look at Arizona just yesterday. There wasn't any available right now for Good Neighbor Next Door, but it's a good thing just to keep in mind, if things shift and there are more foreclosures, this is something to keep an eye on. This is actually, you can just search this on the HUD website. You just search Good Neighbor Next Door, you get to the HUD search link, and you can then type in, the area that you're looking at and see which homes are available for this. Same for the $100 down. There was 2 properties here in Arizona that were available for that. Fortunately, none of them were in Maricopa County. I think one was in Kingman and the other one was in Show Low. But just something to keep in mind, just another thing to have in the tool belt. And that is, getting into the tip of the iceberg on these renovation loans. We went into quite a bit here, but it's nice to know for that type of client that maybe is looking for a home that has these types of renovations, but their price point, what they're qualified for, doesn't allow them to get into those homes that are already renovated. This is where we can utilize this renovation loan, get them into a purchase price that's lower, and then just do the renovations afterwards. Does anybody have any questions about renovation loans?
Really quick, does that cover a VA loan as well? Can you use it with those?
Yes, we can. And that's its own separate renovation program. It's pretty similar to FHA, but we can do FHA renovation, conventional renovation, and VA renovation. We chose to go FHA just because FHA loans right now are king. In this market environment, it's going to be the most affordable loan for 90% of the people out there. And again, it has its own separate nuances versus conventional. Eventually, we'll do a training on renovation VA and renovation conventional, but those come with their own set of guidelines, but it is available.
Thank you.
Just the other thing to add to this too. So yeah, renovations, we can do FHA, VA, conventional. We didn't go over it in this presentation, but there's also construction loans that we can do too. So someone that is looking to build from ground zero, we could do a one-time close too. So we'll probably do another presentation on that because that's a total separate thing, but that's also a really cool program out there to be able to close before construction starts. That way there's more peace of mind. Commission checks go out ahead of time. So just another thing that we can add.
One thing we didn't go over is qualification criteria. So in order, you can actually have a 580 credit and utilize a 203K renovation. So that's another huge win for a lot of buyers, which is why we want to go over this one first. Conventional, they can go as low as 620, but we know that if they're at 620 credit score, they're probably better off going FHA anyways. So yeah, it's not even super difficult to qualify for these programs. Obviously, they need to qualify with income, credit, and assets, just like any other loan, but the entry point is pretty low.
Also, to answer Adam's question in the chat, yes, we can use the renovation loan to add a garage. And it can actually be attached or detached garage.
And I had a kind of a stupid question. Sorry, in regards to the loan. So just so I envision like a buyer, I purchase my home, I move into, I'm a FHA buyer, and then I get this type of loan, or do I do it in the beginning? What if I've lived in the home for a few years and I'm an FHA borrower, I can get it later. Just trying to envision it from the buyer perspective. If you can kind of clarify on that for me, just.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know we kind of went through a lot, but essentially you can do it both ways. So if you already own a home and you're on an FHA loan, we can do a renovation refinance. So that's one route we can go. We can refinance utilizing a renovation product. The other is as a buyer. So as a buyer, when we're going through the initial pre-approval, rarely does somebody come and say, hey, I want to buy a home and rehabilitate it, but it does happen. So as we're pre-approving a client, or as you're prospecting and talking to people, if they mention, hey, this is kind of what we're wanting to do, or we're looking to find a home that's totally gutted and renovate it, then at that point, as we get them pre-approved, we'll have that discussion. We'll go into the weeds, we'll go through all the plans, and then we want to tell them, start looking for a GC prior to submitting any offers, because you don't want to submit an offer and not have a HUD consultant or a general contractor already on hand, and then go under escrow scrambling like Ricky mentioned earlier. So all of this is done prior to submitting any kind of offer.
Thank you.
Any other last minute questions? All right, well, thank you all for joining. I know it's a lot of info. Feel free to reach out to either George or myself if you have any questions or you want to dive into a scenario. We'd be happy to help, and look forward to talking to you all soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Very informative, guys. Great job. Thank you. Bye. You all enjoy your day. We'll talk to you all soon.